Meeting for Wednesday, June 24th, 2026. This meeting is being broadcast live by Westford Cable Access TV and recorded for playback online. By participating in this meeting, you're agreeing to your likeness and audio being used for this purpose. For our 7 o'clock agenda item, it's open forum. Do any members of the commission have something for open forum? Matt?
Just an update that last Tuesday, June 16th, I was able to ride along with the CSX rail crews who were spraying for the right-of-way. I was in the pickup truck in advance of the spray truck, but certainly seemed consistent with kind of the areas, limited spraying within proximity to the wetland resource areas, again, as it crosses over Stony Brook and runs kind of parallel to that system. So was able to ride along and had to get picked up at the end by one of my colleagues because, car got left on the on the Brookside Road. So.
Do any members of the audience have something for open forum? If you want to come up to the mic and tell us who you are.
Hello. A little short thing. My name is Amy Doucette, and I'd like to get some more information and clarity on the process and the timeline for the lease of the Day Agricultural Field. My partner and I have been trying to stay in contact with the office for the past several months because we are very, very interested in leasing the land. We have a small farm now in town where we grow primarily microgreens that we sell locally, and we've been looking to expand our produce offerings, which this land would be absolutely perfect for. I'm a Westford native and I've lived here my entire life, and I've been growing food for around 15 years, and I've been involved in local agriculture in various different farms for about 10, and I would just absolutely love to be able to farm more in this town and to be able to contribute to my community in this way. We really think we would be a great fit for the property and that we'd be able to provide a lot of benefit to the community, just the community around the property itself and the town as a whole. So I'm just looking for any additional information on the process and timeline as a whole, and if there's anything else that we can do to help the process along.
I've been struggling to get the RFP released. It's on my priority list, but I've just been struggling with the wetlands filings and some of the other priority stuff up at the Stony Brook Conservation Area in East Boston camps, as that's been ramping up for camp operation. I'll try to get it out in probably the next couple days and have it to the town manager's office to release, and then they'll certainly advise of the process.
Why don't you take her name and number?
Yeah, I have their
you do have
contact.
it?
Yeah, they've been in contact with me, and
Great.
I've just been trying to.
That's fantastic.
Well, and actually, with some of this stuff, where members of the commission are special municipal employees, are there things that could, at times like this, that could be delegated to members of the commission to complete certain steps and processes to keep stuff moving forward?
I can certainly ask and think about it and kind of get an answer
Okay.
moving forward.
Yeah, because I think, that's certainly something that we can do to make sure that things that have short timelines can have a better chance of meeting them.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's also on the agenda for later today, right?
Yeah, again, I was trying to get it released for today. Again, it's just
It's
been.
on the agenda so that the discussion and action items are basically all the stuff we also want to get done that we don't want to lose sight of. So it doesn't necessarily mean that we're making progress on those things weekly, but we don't want them slipping through the cracks either.
So we keep a list.
Yeah.
So we keep a list,
That's it.
yes. Okay, well, thank you very much for your comments.
In terms of next steps for that, when it is available, how will we be able to access the RFP?
So it gets posted on the town's bids website. It's I think it's westfordma.gov/bids or something to that effect. But that's available on the town's can certainly send you the link to, and then the time frame for that will be spelled out as part of that process as well.
Can, for people who are interested,
I can also make sure that when it is released, we send it to you.
well, I was also thinking as to if there was a way that people, with all the alerts that people can sign up for.
Possibly, but you may also get bid notifications for, like, culvert replacements.
I mean,
I don't think the system is that.
Yeah, but it's
nuanced.
just, it's maybe something to explore, with, you can sign up for alerts, is that one of the ones? Yeah, you probably get a lot more than you wanted, but,
I'll take that's fine.
okay,
All right, thank you very much.
thank you. Moving on to our next 7 p.m. agenda item, it's continuation of a public hearing for the Westford Department of Public Works for the culvert work at Colonial Drive. That the applicant has requested a continuance without discussion to July 8th. Can I have a motion to continue the public hearing to July 8th?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, our next 7 p.m. agenda item is a request to review and execute a license agreement for the Stony Brook Bridge Rehabilitation Project.
The engineering department has requested, just to be efficient with everybody's time, when they're at the July 8th meeting for the prior public hearing, they can speak to this. So just table it.
So this is, but it's not a public hearing, so it doesn't need to be continued.
Correct.
Okay. Moving on to our next agenda item, it's a presentation of the draft to linked and livable neighborhoods for Littleton Road pedestrian plan.
Is there a tool I can use to advance the slides?
Oops, kind of like that apparently. Yeah, just if you want to click like this.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for having me here tonight. My name is Nate Burgess. I'm a landscape architect with Dodson and Flinker, and I'm here to talk about planning for linked and livable neighborhoods in the Littleton Road area, which is a project we've been collaborating with Jeff Morissette and Land Use and Economic Development and Planning at the town, along with our sub-consultants that are on the screen. So this project is really an outgrowth of the MBTA Communities Overlay District planning process a few years ago, and a recognition on the part of the Planning Board and Land Use and Economic Development and Planning and other folks that it would be helpful to plan for pedestrian and bike connections in the rezoned areas. In particular, because that could help with coordinating public investment and new development projects that are happening because of that zoning, in order to create a continuous bike and pedestrian network, and to identify kind of good locations for community spaces and amenities, as well as kind of big picture to generally just try to help guide the study area, which you can see on the screen, away from sort of the history of very vehicle-oriented land uses that had a focus on offices and shopping, to a place that we hope will be a really enjoyable place to both work and live, with the multifamily housing coming into that area. So the deliverables that we've put together for the project include a plan for connections in the study area, a 25% design plan for a pilot site. In this case, it's Robbins Road at Littleton Road. I'll talk about more in a few minutes. Conceptual plans for development sites, really trying to focus on finding high priority bike and pedestrian connections that could be made as part of development, and identifying open spaces, an illustrative master plan, and then guidance specifically for the planning board for review of projects resulting from the MICMOD, or the MBTA community zoning. So in terms of engagement, we worked with a technical advisory committee, which Bob Schaefer was the chair of. Others included Rick Posh, vice chair, June McMorrow, clerk, and Denise Pigeon, who is the superintendent of the Neshoba Valley Technical High School, which was within the study area. As part of that engagement, we also interviewed property owners, and we talked to 5 different focus groups. We did a survey, we did a workshop, and some kind of big picture conclusions about priorities are on the screen. We were hearing that kind of number 1 was pedestrian infrastructure in the focus area, followed by bike infrastructure and outdoor community space, trails, and sort of improvements associated with public transit. Those deliverables included some diagrams about connections. This is one of them. This is focused on regional connections, so really important opportunities to connect Westford to the neighbors. So for starters, the Littleton Road corridor, which goes right through our kind of primary study area, as I'm sure you're all familiar, has some sidewalks, but isn't really a continuous, safe experience for bikes and pedestrians presently. However, there's a lot of opportunity to make it so with state funding over time. And as those improvements are made, it represents a really, really important opportunity to connect Westford east-west to Littleton and Chelmsford. Another big picture, kind of really important connection that exists is the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, which, while it's in Westford and has some roads that connect to it in Carlisle and Chelmsford, which you can see on the screen, there's still a lot of room for improvement about how to get there safely on a bike. And one of the big opportunities that we're recommending as a result of the work that we've been doing over the last couple of years on this project is something we're calling the Neshoba Greenway, which would be a new connection from Westford to the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail here along the west side. That's in the former Nashua-Acton rail line. It's called Bread Line historically, which is relatively intact through the kind of general area of points south in Westford. Though it does have some constraints from wetlands, which you can see on the screen in this aerial photo, particularly just south of Littleton Road. And the dashed line is where that corridor, historic corridor, went through the wetland areas just south of Littleton Road. That being said, with those constraints in mind, we do think that there's still, with some good, careful planning and design, a real great opportunity to build a really high quality but bike and pedestrian connection from Westford south on that corridor that might look something like this. This is another diagram from the plan. This one's zooming in a little bit more. And in addition to those kind of big picture, high priority regional connections, it illustrates some existing trails and sidewalks and things like that, and then opportunities to connect those together to create sort of a cohesive whole in the study area. There's a lot of information there that kind of go into in the report. I want to focus just for our brief presentation tonight to look at this area. I want to highlight here, this is the Littleton Road and Robbins Road, kind of Nokia and Abbott, and sort of the Tech Park West area here, Neshoba Valley Ski Area, Kimball Farm, for reference. I put this area up as the focus because we wanted to highlight some of the progress that has been made already, kind of during the course of the project, on some recommendations that were identified pretty early on in discussions for this area. One is the Neshoba Greenway, which I mentioned, which received a grant for a feasibility study to advance that further. The 37 Powers Road development project here is advancing an important connection that we identified pretty early on, connecting the Bell Westford area down to Trailside and the trails in that location. The town's received a grant for pedestrian improvements along Powers Road here. They've received a grant to expand the design of the TIP, the Transportation Improvement Project, on Littleton Road to points west of Powers Road, which for additional pedestrian and bike infrastructure. And associated with that, and not on the screen, the town added a crosswalk to the tip in front of Neshoba Valley Technical High School, which we understand has been a very long-standing need and desired by the community. So as we understand it, that's no longer an if, but a when for that improvement. And then a 25% design for a pilot project for a shared use path here on Robbins Road, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a moment. Also, for tonight, just wanted to highlight, I mentioned connections, really central to the way we're thinking about planning for this area is highlighting and celebrating the existing trails that are a really wonderful part of life now, including the trails along Vine Brook, which are here on this map that was from the Westford Conservation Trust. And also recognizing that Westford has a uniquely dedicated group of people that are clearly involved kind of updating trails information, maintaining trails, and promoting trail connectivity, which I think are really, really can't overstate how that's an asset for this community, and we see it as central to connecting this area together. But not just connecting, getting people from one place to another, but also wanted to mention that we see them as really important outdoor amenities in their own, connecting people to nature, providing people experience to learn about wetlands, habitat areas, et cetera. And we want to see that be kind of a foundation for future development in this area. With all that in mind, we're also hearing from people that there's still room for improvements. Better information about trails, in particular on the ground, in person would be helpful. More parking at trailheads, better connections between trails and sidewalks, and came up as sort of priorities from discussions with folks in the community. This is looking at Robbins Road south, looking south, which is where we've done some work, more detailed design work on a shared use path. The reason why we selected this area is in part because it allows long-term a possible way around some of the most extensive wetland areas in the Neshoba Greenway. And because for the short term, it connects Bell Westford Apartments and future residents of this area to Littleton Road and the potential improvements there through the TIP project. Here's we did engineered plans as part of this project with wetlands, survey from Welch Associates, and then developed some options for a shared use segment in this area. And you can see just concept plans on the screen. There's some ideas here. One of them is that there's an existing median at the end of Robbins Road, and if that was removed, it would improve emergency access and also open up some kind of opportunities for a sidewalk on the east side connecting to the existing sidewalk at Bell Westford, and a shared use path on the west side with a buffer to make comfortable use of that trail. This is the existing conditions looking north and what that might look like. The project also, beyond that was kind of public realm talk, things that would be funded by the town most likely. We also were looking at private development and how to shape that. And so the McMod zoning presently has design standards for block streets and outdoor amenity spaces, but there was the recognition that it would be valuable to get a little more specific. So we provided these plans to think about how those standards might play out in specific sites to create a network of pedestrian and bike connections, outdoor amenity spaces that all kind of weave together to create a comfortable place to live in each place. And illustrative plans to try to get at what that might look like more specifically. This is the area presently the Nokia building is here and Abbott Medical is here. And we've, in conversation with Nokia in particular, we understand that it may be less likely that this whole area gets developed together like this, but if it were, it could look like this. If the existing Nokia building were to remain, there's still opportunities to add residential development with parking, say in a parking garage, and some work to connect together a few parcels, all of which would support sort of these connected network of pedestrian and bike improvements in those areas. And we put together guidance for the planning board review of new projects going forward. In particular, thinking about real challenges that have arisen over the last year or so with projects that have gone through permitting from the MICMOD zoning, that where kind of developers' needs are maybe not aligned with the MICMOD requirements, and so we've been thinking about kind of guidance for the planning board as it considers flexibility to address needs like longer buildings or a desire for perpendicular parking in street connections, or more campus-like developments with a kind of a central green. And all with an eye towards trying to make sure that there are clear guidance about how to create really high-quality pedestrian connections, on-street, off-street, and bike connections. So that's kind of an overview of what we've been doing. And I wanted to thank you again. The reason why we're bringing it to you is to get your feedback. We really appreciated the comments that we already received on the report, and we would love to have more comments and questions, and we're kind of putting together a final report over the next week or so, and trying to, we'll be addressing those comments and in the report, but also wanted to give you an opportunity to, if you want me to talk about those tonight, or if you have other questions, happy to answer them. So,
Jim?
We have a potential for 1,000 apartments to be built in just the three major sites
yeah.
in Westford.
Mm-hmm.
Does any of your draft plans or ideas accommodate people trying to get to work?
Yeah, so, yes. Yeah, so
from December till March, most of the trails are impassable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I can return back. The goal would be to create, multiple opportunities to connect things together. And so Littleton Road in itself is a big, an important connection. But the goal here to create as many connections as possible so that if the trails are impassable, there's another location.
That doesn't answer your question.
Okay.
What?
That didn't answer your question.
No, they're impassable for 4 months of the year.
Well,
So
but it's
how
not
people
just
gonna-
impassable, but you think about the shortened daylight hours.
Well, I'm thinking about the ice.
Well, I'm thinking about, but also thinking about when it gets dark at 4 o'clock.
Sure, right.
Are people going to be wanting to use these pedestrian things? You think about the public funding, for enforcement of bike lanes, crosswalks, stuff like that. There's a lot of behavior change before this infrastructure is safe for pedestrians, and that's not being talked about.
I thought a lot of this was, when I look at this, I thought that this type of development was envisioned to allow opportunities for people to, use like the rail at Littleton
That's
to
right,
get
that's
into
right.
Boston.
Yeah.
The whole thing behind the MBTA Communities Act was providing, opportunities, homes for people so they could get into the city. I'm not seeing traffic on, okay, we're gonna take all these people or a portion thereof. How are they gonna get to Littleton, use the Littleton line, or how are they gonna get to 495, or how are they gonna get to Route 3? I don't see car use going away. Well, I see opportunities for connecting bikeways and walkways, and that's all very nice. The reality is there's gonna be a lot more cars on the road at time that people are gonna wanna get to work. They're not gonna be taking their bikes, so they're gonna be driving. So that's where I'm more concerned about. While it's very nice to have some interconnection amongst all this multifamily housing that's being considered and probably will be developed, I'm looking at the impacts of the roads nearby from all the traffic that will occur. So that's just the reality of it.
Any other comments?
I mean, do we know? I mean, this is supposed to be being built under the guise of it, to allow folks to, have opportunities
To
to
get
get
to the
into the city.
MBTA.
So how much of this development that's actually happening, is there a percentage that they actually think that people who move there are actually going to be going into the city?
Well, and.
Is it probably not more than 5 or 10%?
And if there's 1,100, 1,200, whatever the total number of apartments, how many bicycles gonna be and how many cars?
Yeah. And where are those bicycles going to go? These apartments, they don't have the storage for all of that stuff.
So, I think that we can try to add some to the narrative to try to clarify that in the report. I think that some things that, speaking to those concerns that I could see.
One thing we could do is mark the trails that you believe people would be using to get to their public transit.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. I think in a really important, I guess there are two things. One would be these sort of shared use paths and sidewalks along major streets. Part of the pilot project, we do have recommendations for lighting and things like that, which would speak to sort of year-round use of those trails and thinking through maintenance and things like that. On the trails side of things, I think seems like a really important question going forward for the Conservation Commission is sort of that balance between connectivity and protection of wetlands and natural areas. Because if you're, to your point, if the trails are impassable and things like that, that provides a seasonal limitation to using those trails. If there are opportunities to, improve the trails to address some of those issues in terms of boardwalks or other things like that, it kind of gets at that tension between, a lot of these development areas have wetlands in between them. What's the right balance to be able to get people from one location to the next on bike or on
for
foot?
all the effort that you would do, how many people are going to use it? I mean, what do you anticipate the usage to be? It's all very well and nice to build, but who's going to use it? I still see folks taking their kids to school, in their cars and dropping them off. I don't know if you're going to change people's habits to the extent that, is this effort worthwhile?
Well,
I mean, should we be focused? I mean, this is all very good in the long term, but, I'm looking at, the day-to-day impacts and, trying to get more people to where they want to be. And what's the percentage of people that this is going to serve, getting to wherever they need to be, to whatever transit location they need to be? Is it 5%? Is it 10%? Then I'm not capturing the other 90%. And, how is that going to occur? And that seems to be the thing that, I would think we should be focusing on because that has the most relevance.
And when we start talking about expanding trails or making them more, is you look at the areas where some of this is protected. These are wildlife corridors. This is protected open space. This is open space that was to conserve wildlife habitat, stuff like that, wildlife corridors. So some of that is, this is starting to sound like preempting some of those uses for which the land was originally protected.
And typically when we get close to resource areas, we do see some of those areas being compromised to some extent. And our charge is to make sure we avoid cumulative adverse impact. And we do that all the time. And we have our setbacks and, with this type of development that we're seeing along 110, it's certainly coming much closer in many instances than our setbacks would typically provide, we would want a greater setback. So when I look at the density of what's proposed, the proximity to resource areas, as you talk about additional improvements and things and opportunities, and that's all great. I just seeing all of that, getting closer to those resource areas and folks using that, and the more intense use tends to, degrade, areas and resource areas that are close to those areas that are being used.
Are there any members, do any members of the audience have comments or questions they'd like to? Yes?
Hi, I'm Eric Lachine. I live at Orion Way. I like the proposal. We need 3 corridors going north-south in town. We need 3 corridors going east and west. Who's going to pay for it? Is it going to be lighted? Is it going to be directed, like Eric said, towards the volume of people going to schools or going to work or going to Market Basket? I think that new development that's going to go in is going to be a huge impact on the environment in that area. People are going to be out there anyway, and those are my concerns. Thank you.
Okay. Any more feedback? And also, if thinking about this later, if people have other thoughts, other questions, you can certainly forward them to Matt, and then Matt can pass them along to
Certainly
the
do.
project team.
I guess my only other thought might be, if some of these areas that you want to put these bike lanes and things on are town land and, if somebody hurts themselves or slips or whatever, what liabilities the town may have.
I can actually answer that. It's minimal.
Are we indemnified and held harmless for any and all?
As long as we're not charging a fee for somebody to use the property, there's some general law citation that I have to.
Doesn't mean that somebody still might not try.
Well, but
Because
everybody tries.
We have,
But I
we're
feel like
negligent in our responsibility to keep it in a fashion that was, easily accessible and usable by the public.
Kind of following on some of your earlier comments, it occurred to me, one of the things that might be helpful to see on this map is have something color-coded that shows what areas are protected open space, either with the commission under our care and custody, Mass Audubon Lane, so that when you're looking at this, you're not seeing a large swath of quote-unquote available territory, is seeing what's protected, what's under National Heritage Priority Habitat, so that you can really start to see there are areas where we wouldn't want to do more than is already there now.
Or even the ability to get easements along some of it. I know back in the day when when we were looking at doing sidewalk extension along 110, it comes to a point where, you might want to do something, but if somebody doesn't want to allow you to do it over your property, it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for those comments, and we'll definitely, review the ones that we've received, what we heard tonight, and if you have other ideas about the report, the ways we can improve it, we're open and willing to try to work on it, try to make something that's great. So,
Thank you.
Thank you for coming and presenting to us and being here to hear our questions.
Of course, yes.
Moving on to our 7:15 p.m. agenda item. It's continue public hearing and issue order of conditions for New England Power Company, the K137Es, L138Es, and 337 transmission line right away.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Allison Melvin with BSC Group. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, New England Power Company. All right. So, we've been working back and forth on kind of providing some language that we're hoping that would be acceptable to the commission, considering, and I think the most important point here is that we included some language in the findings, which identifies why this is a unique sort of project, and I think that's an important aspect of the request to, to kind of reduce the severity of that special condition for the potential work stoppage associated with the utility work. So we just included in here the fact that the nature is driven by scheduled outages, so overhead electrical outages that take years to schedule. They have to be reviewed and approved by ISO New England, which is independent system operator of New England, and they're not associated with the applicant. They aren't associated with any utility, but they make sure that the power stays on for everybody, and that there's no overloads or outages associated with, them needing to turn on and off the electricity in order to complete repairs and work of this nature. So that's all set, with the scheduling, and I also just wanted to reiterate that, we do have time of year restrictions associated and required, that will be required under the conservation management permit with natural heritage. So that's another reason why this really is a impossible ask. So that is included in here, and then just a reiteration of the fact that, qualified monitor is going to be on site at least at the minimum weekly and after a rain event of 20.25 inches or more, or snow melt that results in a runoff of 0.25 inches of precipitation or more.
Were you reading this? I didn't-
So that's a part of their monitoring
Oh, it's not.
protocol,
not-
the standard monitor, it's not as
Okay.
part of.
All right.
I was just kind of giving a little bit more information than
Yeah,
normally
kind of
is
this,
what's going on.
as part of the
Yeah.
stormwater, the SWIP, SWIP and the, monitor.
So a level of detail that we don't normally, a level of detail that's not generally there in the filings for us. You're giving us information that's not, it's not part of the information that normally comes through in a filing, but it's relevant to how the project will be conducted.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then there was the suggested wording for the condition that deals with work. Well, actually, there was the one in terms of removing the construction-related waste incrementally from the project area.
Yes.
And then the other one was basically a 8-week or a 2-month look, kind of a 2-month look ahead of what's the planned work, and then we will be copied on all the reports to track how things are going according to that plan.
Yes, correct.
People have a chance to review it.
You still have no say in anything about these look-ahead plans,
And
right?
You mean-
They give us a look-ahead for 2 months.
Yeah, I thought that was later, though.
And that's it.
you mean in condition 58?
Jim?
What?
Or
I thought the look-aheads were in 58.
They are.
Yeah.
I thought you were asking for open questions on it.
Yeah, I was looking for people's,
I was just concerned it's still pretty much the same thing, that they give us, say, here's what we're gonna do in the next 2 months, and that's it.
Yep, and that leads me back to the special nature of this sort of work. That, it's completely driven by the fact that it's an electrified line, and in order for them to do the work, they have the plan, they have everything planned out. So there's really no room for New England Power Company or any major utility, honestly, to be at the whim of someone telling them that they can't, that something can't happen that's been planned for years and requires an outage or, for safety reasons. So that we have to take that off the table. But what we're offering instead is just really increased communication and commitment to being as open and transparent as possible.
so sharing your plans for the actions you're taking to ensure that there will be no adverse impacts, nothing, well,
Well, what they're
all
doing,
this-
I don't know about that. I think what they're doing is they're just giving us a look ahead, so
Yeah,
they're
there's
like,
nothing there
this
about
is the work we want to do.
No, but-
Not undertaking
We still
adverse
can't,
impacts.
if we didn't like what was happening, I don't think we have any ability with this. I guess we could issue an enforcement order, but
Yes.
we wouldn't shut them down.
I mean, we could.
We
as-
could.
We could as part of an
Yeah, but we
enforcement.
would have
order.
to do it through an enforcement
But it-
order, and it would be outside of these orders and conditions. So you still have some sort of enforcement authority.
When after something
Bad happens.
bad happens.
But that's exactly what you're gonna have here, because all they're gonna do is give you a look ahead. So if something bad does happen, all you are able to do is issue an enforcement order, which is okay.
Okay.
I mean, I don't have a problem with that because you do have that ability. It's just, you have to go through that motion instead of us just saying, no, it looks like it's gonna, be really lousy for the next few weeks. Why don't you shut it down? Which we would typically do, but in this instance, I can understand why we can't.
Okay. Any other members of the commission have comments or questions? Jim?
Just, I don't know, I get the sense that the suggestion in 58 is going to work its way through the commission, but 58 and 42 seem to have conflicts. Because 42 talks about a monthly progress report.
Oh, but I think 58 is for the special time of year when we're going to increase that level of communication and also, increase the periodic, the frequency, that's a better word, the frequency of the reports that we'll be providing to you because of the concerns about snow melt, I believe, and freezing thaw conditions and things that can make construction a little, sometimes, difficult.
So 58 talks to additional communication measures that will be taken between November 1st and March 31st.
Correct. And the rest of the year, we will follow the
42.
yeah.
Oh, that's the difference, okay, I understand that.
I mean, and again, with these 2-month look-aheads, my thought process as kind of offering up was, in month 1, we're going to see, say November and December. And then come December, we're now going to see December. So, we're still getting effectively a monthly progress report
Yeah.
in terms of kind of what's anticipated. But also, again, we're getting, monthly reporting kind of on the back end as well, kind of detailing what was completed in the previous month, or for lack of a better, use things monthly just because the month from second Wednesday or the Thursday preceding the second Wednesday. It's just trying to wordsmith it out.
Any more comments or questions before I open up to the audience? Are there any comments or questions from members of the audience on this topic? Okay. So, I guess, can I have a motion to issue the order of conditions as amended, accepting the suggested language shown on the screen?
So move.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So move.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to our 7:25 PM agenda item, it's a request for minor modification for Casey Building LLC, 17 Forest Road.
Good evening, Mark Slager from Allen Engineering, on behalf of KC Building. We had a request to modify the notice of intent to install a septic system. And
I've got it.
so just wait for the,
Okay.
move the plan up.
Oh,
So this is the first submitted plan. Or do you want the second?
Well, that's the existing conditions.
Right.
Yeah, so we had an approval to install the new septic system. We showed the septic tank in the front of the house. Unfortunately, the contractor installed a water line right through where the tank was gonna go.
Nice.
So we have to come up with an alternate location, which is shown in red. So that's our proposed location for the tank. It is closer to the wetland, but it's still more than 50 feet away from the wetland, so it does conform with Title V.
And the existing tank is,
It's still
Still-
further away from than the existing tank is,
Yeah.
by probably 25 feet at least.
Was there a reason why the water line was relocated so that more of it goes to the buffer zone?
I don't know how that happened. All I can say is the contractor probably felt it was quicker and easier to just go straight into the house without looking at where the septic tank was supposed to go. I
So we didn't
showed,
look at the plans?
That's
That
what I'm
appears to be
saying.
the case.
Did they look at the plans? Did they have the plans?
they had the plans. They
What-
definitely
what
had the
contractor is
plans.
this? What contractor is it?
The guy that's building the house. I don't know who specifically was on site when the water line was put in, but I think somebody just dropped the ball. I didn't know the water line was going in. I mean, the tank has been shown in that location on every version of the plan that was submitted to the commission. So,
and then aren't you also?
So it's not in yet, or is it, it isn't? It's
the
after the
tank
fact?
is,
or-
the tank is not in, but the
Okay.
water line is.
Okay.
And you're also
As far as
requesting,
I know, the tank isn't in. The Board of Health just approved the revision last week.
and also the leach field is being,
Right, we're replacing the leach field.
yeah, which was not a part of the original plan, but again, as it was discussed during the original public hearing for the project, and
Right.
again, the tank relocation was requiring some,
That was part of the original order, was to relocate the tank as far away as we could get it. And at the time, we were gonna try and salvage the leach system, but in talking it over with the builder, we decided that with a brand-new house, people are gonna want a brand-new septic system. So we came up with the idea to do that. We're proposing a geomat system, which has a much smaller footprint than the conventional system is requiring. So you can see the outline of the proposed system in the short dashed here, and this is the existing leach field. So you can see that it's much smaller in footprint.
Has this gone to the Board of Health?
The Board of Health has approved this.
Is there a proposed secondary location for the leaching?
Where this is a repair, a reserve area is not required.
Okay. So this is being asked as a minor modification.
Yes.
Do we have a definition of what's a minor modification?
no. I typically view it as something which was originally discussed and incorporated as part of the original plan and public hearing, and something, these are the construction field changes that,
Okay.
for, another,
Tweaks of the field.
yes.
Yeah.
If they encountered ledge or more giant boulders, and the septic system, the leach field had to be rotated or something to that effect. If they had wanting to put in a pool, that's something that's not a minor modification.
You're fortunate that the contractor didn't decide to just run the water line all the way down the side of the house and go in the back corner. Then you would have been screwed.
No, he would have been.
Well, it's your project too.
Well, yeah, but he would have been instructed to remove it.
I'm okay.
Okay, any other comments or any more comments from members of the commission before I open it up to the public?
So I guess so the tank's going to be closer, but we're accommodating it being closer because of the water line that was improperly installed in the wrong location, not improperly installed.
Correct.
But,
And still further away from the wetland than the existing tank that was there.
Right.
and so the installation of the new geomat leaching system, that's completely independent of having to relocate the septic tank.
It's basically a whole new septic system. We were trying to preserve the leach field, but now it's just gonna be a whole new septic system, new tank, new leach area.
But it's not one change driving another. They're both changes that were made for their own reasons.
Yes, yeah. We're not replacing the leach field because of the water line.
Mhm.
We're moving the tank because of the water line, but we're replacing the leach field because it's just an environmentally better thing to do.
Okay.
Building a new home, you want a new tank, you want a new leaching field.
Anything else?
Make it all new.
I have no additional
Yeah,
questions.
so now it's gonna be,
That's what somebody's want when they're going to buy a new house.
that's what I explained to them, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any comments or questions from members of the audience? No. Okay. So,
Motion that we approve it as a minor change. So moved.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you. Moving on to our 7:30 PM agenda item, it's a continuation of a public hearing for 18 Fletcher Road.
So included in the commission's meeting packet was the response to DEP previously provided in advance of the last meeting to afford commissioners an opportunity to review. Additionally, in the meeting packet was a image from the provided by the engineering department, showing the catch basin locations shown as little 4 squared windows, manholes by circles, and existing culverts as gray, and an outfall shown as the purple triangle. Again, the location of Cold Spring Brook as shown on the GIS base map is a little off. Again, Cold Spring Brook is going through the gray culverts. And so, kind of, as I raised at the last question, where the nearest catch basins were, they're down gradient approximately 200, 300 feet. And so, included in the revised plan that was provided today was erosion controls along the Fletcher Street, but also included in the commission's meeting packets was the portion of the wetlands regulations regarding riverfront development, or the riverfront area general performance standards, and also 58.5 redevelopment. And as the revised plan is on the screen, and I defer to you.
Good evening, Wesley Fliss, McCarty Engineering. We're here again this evening to talk about 18 Fletcher Road. And so since the last meeting that we met with you, we did make a few updates to the plans. Some of the items that we updated the plan, we discussed at the last meeting. And so we did add a underground infiltration system here that would handle all the roof runoff from all the existing house and all the additions for the house. And then we did add some additional landscaping within the riverfront area here and in here, trying to add some trees. I know there's some trees along Fletcher Road that will be removed as part of the septic system. And so we tried adding a similar amount of trees that would be removed along Fletcher Road, but put those into the riverfront to add some further protection or further enhancement to the riverfront. We also do show some shrubs along the driveway entrance here as we get further away from the septic system and in the flatter area to provide some more landscaping along Fletcher Road. The additional items that we provided today were I apologize, we added this late, was the erosion control. I know we talked about it at the last meeting. We did show that erosion control barrier along the front of the property so we could protect Fletcher Road. And on the top of the plan here, we also show a note calling for a silt sack to be installed in the closest catch basin at the intersection of Fletcher Road and Beaver Dam Drive. I know I did receive a few comments today from Matthew, I believe on behalf of one of the members of the commission. And I don't know if we want to discuss those now, or if you want to discuss the plan first, and then we can get into that. Actually, I apologize. One other item I do want to make note, I think you pointed at too, is I know we talked about this foundation drain at the last meeting before we had it shown further down into here. And so we did show an alternative option as bringing it up closer. And the only difference here is it does get into the 100-foot riparian zone. Before it was just in the 100-foot wetlands buffer zone. But as I stated at the last meeting, to construct this, for this portion here, we could use the ditch witch and be able to avoid any trees that are in that area. We wouldn't have to alter any trees. So if there's any trees that are in that actual location of that line, we can adjust where that line goes within a few feet and avoid any removal of trees to get that foundation. And so we gave you an alternative option with that. I know at the last meeting it was discussed about possibly looking at other locations. The concern that we had with this was the proximity to the septic system in the front of the house. And so that's why we still chose to look at it coming out of the back of the property. And as I stated last time, it's not going to be a huge amount of flow. It's just for groundwater along the foundation. We're looking at a 4-inch pipe with a small riprap pad on the bottom there. If you would like us to beef that up to any more, even a plunge pool, we could do that also. And then the other item I know was asked about at the last meeting is if we could remove the shed here. So we do put a note on here that we could remove the shed or relocate it. And our thought is if they did relocate it, obviously they'd relocate it out of the riparian zone. So that's no longer in the riparian zone for the stream. And so those are the updates that we made to the plan today. I know, like I said, there are 3 comments that came to our office this afternoon. I can go over those comments, or if you want to have any questions about the plan that's in front of you now. And then there are other items that we can discuss too.
Where are my questions?
Huh?
They weren't-
Okay.
they weren't my questions.
So, okay. So yes, if questions were forwarded, if you
Yeah.
want to.
So the first item had to do with the filing is not to construct a single-family home, rather the property is already a single-family home, and this is in addition to a single-family home. And so I know last meeting we talked about the exemption in regards to the Rivers Protection Act for the construction of a single-family home with the associated septic system and driveway. And so instead of, we don't, I apologize, I don't think we meet the thresholds of redevelopment. I know DEP came back and asked us to look at the threshold for redevelopment. I don't think we meet all the requirements. First of all, because we're over the 10% or 5,000 square foot threshold. We're at 5,200 square feet of disturbance within the riverfront. And so we don't meet that requirement. We're close to being the same distance away from the riverfront on the addition, except now with our improvement now with regards to the roof runoff going into the underground infiltration system. And so, again, I don't think we meet the redevelopment. I still think the exemption for the single-family house within the riverfront would apply to this. I know there, I guess we'll get into the next item because I think that next item ties into the first question. And so the second item that was brought to our attention was the existing house has 3 bedrooms, a paved driveway, no garage. The proposed addition increases the living space, adds a 3-bay garage, and increases the paved driveway by some unspecified percentage. The scale of the project would be reduced in size by decreasing the number of garage bays and the amount of additional paved driveway. It remained consistent with the project purpose and proposed use. And so I did give us, look at the figures with regards to the existing driveway. Currently is at 2,040 square feet. The proposed driveway is at 2,456 square feet. So the new driveway in comparison to the old driveway isn't that much of an addition. There is actually a garage, a two-car garage on this house. There's a drive-under garage on this side of the house. The house is a split-level entry house built in 1971. The actual living space in the house is very small in comparison to most of the houses in the area because of the way this was built, and it hasn't been updated since then. If you look at the house, there's really no updates to it. And so the new owners of the house are looking to basically gut the house, put the addition on, move the garage into a front-facing garage and get rid of the smaller garage so they get more basement area. So they have more room for storage and mechanicals in their basement. And then really the front area is more of a porch area in the front of the house. And so the living space would be above the garage there, is really what they're adding, trying to add more living space. More of a, I don't want to say it's a single story because it's not necessarily like a ranch style, right? It's still a split level house, but still to add more of that living space on that same level. That a lot
What's
of
driving it? I mean, the three-car garage or the living space above? Because, you know, before it was the three-car garage, and it was like, well, you know, I think we were looking to see if we could maybe make that smaller, but, you know, now it sounds like there's, you know, the space above the.
Well, it goes in
Well,
hand
look
in.
at the increase of impervious area.
Correct, and so that's what
How
I
we're
was
repairing.
going to touch on next.
Yeah, okay.
So on our plan, Matt, do you mind scrolling down? I'm sorry. So what we added also is another table to the plan. And so we wanted to show the total impervious area on the site, right? And I know at the last meeting, it was talking about how much impervious surface goes to Fletcher Road, because that was a concern also, because we know the Fletcher Road drainage dumps right into the river. And so, as under this proposal, we're taking the entire house and making that go into our underground infiltration system. And so we sized that for the 1-inch storm event, which is per the town's stormwater bylaw. Even though we're not held to that because we're under acre of disturbance, we still designed the drainage system to meet the town's stormwater bylaw. And so, under our proposal, 2,561 square feet of impervious would go to Fletcher Road, and that's basically the driveway. Currently, there's 3,120 square feet of impervious surface that goes to Fletcher Road untreated now. We don't show anything right now on the driveway for treatment. The one thing I was concerned about, and if, do you mind scrolling out a little bit? The one thing I was concerned a little bit about was the location of the septic system in relation to this, but when I was looking at this with our landscape architect today, we were looking at that we could tweak the grading of the driveway to make the stormwater go into this corner here and make this landscaping also a rain garden, so that we could give some pre-treatment to the stormwater for the driveway into a rain garden in this corner also. So that's an amenity we could provide as part of that driveway. We could play with the grading of the driveway a little different than what we showed on our plan now to get that stormwater into a rain garden there.
What
And
would you
then
do, put a drainage ditch of some sort
we
around
we
it
put a little
outside?
bit, we put a little bit of stone here, making sure that we're further enough away from the septic system so that we don't violate any of the Title V regulations for the septic, and then get that to run off into a small depression here. As we get down closer to the driveway, it's fairly flat down there, so we would propose a rain garden in this area to provide some pre-treatment of that runoff before it goes back out to Fletcher Road. And so we would improve the quality, water quality of that stormwater for some of the smaller storm events. And so that's what we were talking about. Like I said, I talked with our landscape architect about that, and that's something that we could also provide. And then the last thing I know, the last question had to do with what size of the proposed deck. And so the proposed deck, and we missed it on our survey plan. I apologize for that, because the other comment on here is there is an existing deck on the back here. There's a fairly large deck on the back of the house with a fairly extensive staircase that comes down here. The railings in the staircase are newer, but the deck is an older deck, and they want to completely redo that deck and put in a new deck, because if you look at the structure of the deck, it looks like it may be original to the house, which I said 1971 house. It's not in the greatest shape. And so they're looking to put on let's see if I have the dimensions, it was a 13.5 by 14-foot deck for what they're looking to put on the house here. And so it's actually, but measuring off of the aerial imagery that we had, actually the deck is going to be slightly smaller than what's there now, but it's pretty close to being the same size now it is now. I think right now it looks like it's a 14 by 14-foot deck. And so right now we're proposing a 14 by 13.5. Like I said, there's a staircase that runs from the existing deck down in this direction here to the backyard. And that would be the same intent here with this deck, is to have that same type of staircase, but have everything brand new on that deck. And I know the deck shows on your GIS aerial imagery. And like I said, you can get a pretty good look at it. It's a pretty substantial deck that they have in the back of the house there. And then the last thing I wanted to, I guess, point out as part of this filing, and then I didn't forward it along. I know you had said you had section 4 and 5, but in section 6 of the Rivers Protection Act,
I can-
which is certain activities are grandfather exempt from the requirements of the riverfront. And so C is the on-site sewage disposal systems in existence prior to August 7th, 1996, which obviously is the date of the Rivers Protection Act. And the repair, upgrade of existing systems in compliance of Title V, right, are exempt from the C, right, is what we're looking at there.
Yeah, just,
Are exempt from the Rivers Protection Act. And so if I were to eliminate the area that's associated with the septic system and the tanks and our pump, we would be under the 5,000 square foot threshold. And so that exemption there, I guess, would allow us not to have to even argue the single-family house exemption, because now we'd be under the 5,000 square foot threshold. That I think that was a lot of discussion at the last meeting. And so that's where, if we were to remove, like I said, the disturbance related to the septic system, we'd be under that 5,000 square foot threshold number. So, but those are the, I guess, the new information or the answers that I had to the questions that were asked. You know, we're trying to improve the situation with regards to the riverfront, and then I will state again, I think we beat that to the, beat that dead horse, but this is the ridge in the property now. Currently, all the runoff from the disturbed area now on the property goes out to Fletcher Road, and all the disturbance that happens after the development would go out to Fletcher Road. And so that would go through the drainage system in Fletcher Road before it would be discharged out into the stream. There's nothing on our property that we're disturbing that would have a direct impact to the stream in the back of the property. And so we're not doing any work within the 100-foot riparian zone that would, we would consider as real disturbance within the 100-foot riparian zone. We're trying to keep that as natural as we can. It's mostly treed now, and so we're trying to keep it as trees later. All of our disturbance are trying to be within the area, the footprint of the driveway, the existing house, and the lawn area. And we're trying to improve that.
The proposed reserve leach is almost entirely under the new K driveway, so if for some reason you had to replace your leach field, you'd have to dig up the driveway to build a leach field in the reserve area?
Yes. And then we would have to redo the driveway.
Now, is there a reason that the leach field is not someplace other than under the driveway?
Currently? I mean, the proposal, you mean?
Yes.
The proposed primary is out of the driveway.
Right.
This
but
is the reserve, that was what was agreed upon with the Board of Health, that they were.
Okay, so they were okay with
Yes.
that.
Maybe I heard it wrong, but in listening to the discussion, it seemed like septic components weren't considered as part of your 5,000. If you did that, you definitely wouldn't be going over. But, so I was looking at
So this is the
the
area.
leach field, and it's outside of the riparian zone.
Correct, with this area here, with regards to the tanks and the pump chamber, and the associated grading in the front of the yard.
Okay, yeah.
We're over by 200 square feet, we're not talking a huge area, right? So those tanks there themselves would take up the septic
I
tank
only
right
see
there.
that one tank there.
There's a septic tank, the pump chamber's part of it, but there's associated grading and there's associated piping with that septic tank. That creates us when we looked at the limited disturbance, right, our limited disturbance came out here, we wouldn't have to disturb this area for the septic, if the septic tank wasn't going into the pump chamber in the leach field, so. And if you want, before the next meeting, I can provide you a diagram that outlines disturbance related to the septic system and outline disturbance related not to the septic system. So you can see that difference in the 5,000 and not, in the.
Well, it would be nice if that's the case, as we say, we'd like to document why we might allow something and not, and that's like, you're providing justification, so it's always good to know
Yeah.
and document the
Something
justification.
that would be recorded as a finding. in the report.
And we have I could do a little diagram hatch in that area, the two areas, just so you can see the difference in disturbance. We can put a little color to it and we can make it real obvious in what the 5,000, the disturbance not related to septic and disturbance related to the septic.
I guess one of the things that I keep coming back to, and the table impact, the table that was inserted is the impervious, it looks like the impervious surface, the impervious area in the riverfront is increasing from a little over 2,600 square feet to over 5,200 square feet. So all of a sudden, you've doubled the amount of area where water landing on the ground runs off as opposed to being infiltrated the way it is today. You talk about it going to Fletcher Road, you talk about being treated, but what we're seeing is we're seeing water that today gets absorbed into the ground and returns to the groundwater is now being shipped off down the way. And that's one of the things where we always look at impervious areas is because we want groundwater recharge.
And so that's why we were proposing the infiltration system for the whole entire roof, for the additions and the existing house, which
Okay.
is almost 3,300 square feet of impervious surface, will go to that infiltration system.
Okay, so it will end up going into the ground on site, just
Correct.
not in the same place that it goes into the ground today.
We're pretty close to it. Because it goes onto the ground right next to the house now.
Yeah,
Right.
but it's just, today it's dispersed across the lawn, and in the future, it will not, it will be in this trench.
Into the trench and back into the ground, yes.
And the flow in the front, you said you're gonna have some kind of a.
We're more than-
a rain
Rain
garden.
garden.
We're more than welcome to throw rain garden in there, also to provide some recharge for that driveway.
That'll reduce flow off the site then.
Right,
That's
yes.
That's good.
Yeah, but it just, we talk about wanting water to get back in the ground where it falls, and so that infiltration system is what will enable that to the extent practicable.
I'm gonna ask a question for a little education on from my part. What's the purpose for this two pipes from the septic tank to both the pump chamber and the D-box? Why are there two lines there? Or are they not supposed, or is this an excess?
I'll have to get that answer for you. I did not design the septic system. So I'll honestly, I'm not gonna
It looks
even
like
take a
that
guess.
would have been a standard outflow without a pump chamber, but then when they added a pump chamber, they left a bypass line. I don't know.
I'll ask the question. I'll get
Yeah,
to that
I
answer.
don't know.
All right.
It's a recirculator,
And I can,
Recirculate things.
I can have the gentleman that designed this to email Matt tomorrow with the answer for you.
Okay, all right, thank you. Like I said, it's not a problem with it, because it's not our
Yeah, but-
area.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
curiosity, it's like.
Inquiring
we
minds
see a
want to
lot,
know.
I know.
So yeah, and I guess you're talking about the additional plantings. I don't know, I don't remember whether you mentioned it specifically, but all those would be native
Yes.
trees and shrubs.
From, if I may, Sean is on McCarty Engineering as well. They were taken from the town of Westford's approved list of neighbors.
The,
30 under 30?
no, it's the HMP tree planting list for lawn areas. Some were, I have a couple comments, because they're like native to the US. One of them's native to, again,
Not native.
they're not native. And so if we're kind of advocating for native species, we can tighten it up a little
Okay.
bit. But
Yeah.
I'll certainly provide the comment.
So,
You had other comments, Matt, or?
Nope, that was really my only.
Lauren?
So now with these improvements, in your answers to, you said you were, thought it was gonna be a net zero? So are you thinking it's not gonna be a net zero impact now that you're actually improving?
I still think, well, with the rain garden and the infiltration systems, I think we're actually making an improvement now, yes. Because we're actually gonna infiltrate more than what was being infiltrated before. Before, it was just running over grass that wasn't being forced into the ground. Now we're forcing it into the ground with our infiltration devices.
You also said that you had alternative layouts were evaluated and the proposed design represents the most practical, environmentally responsible layout given the considerable constraints associated with the site.
Yep.
One, can we see those other layouts? And two, a smaller footprint would be more environmentally better. So did you consider half the size, or are there any of the layouts smaller?
So for what they're looking for, they aren't. And so, like I said, it's because of the way they want the living to be on that same level. And I know it's not necessarily like a ranch, where a lot of ranch houses are a little better suited for.
Well, so the original house has a garage. That's going to turn into what now?
It's going to end up being storage space.
Will the garage bays be on the same level as the current garage?
Correct. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so
They'll walk right into it
So
from the
you're going to
garage.
have
Correct.
basically a
This will be
1,400 square foot storage on the bottom of your
another
house.
400 square. Yeah, because yes. Well, because right now there's no storage space really in that house. So it's going to be garage here, because they do have one car that they only use during the summer. So they need 3 bays is really what they're looking for, to have 3 bays. I know not everybody does it, but that's what they're looking for. And then they're trying to close this off to provide storage in the basement, which they don't really have storage right now in their current basement. They have mechanical areas right now in the basement, but it's a 1,000 square foot house. It's not a very big house. So that's what they're looking for square footage, and they're looking to have that square footage on that level. It's not, I call it the first floor, but it's not like a ranch first floor, but that's what they want, is they want that.
the ground floor versus living floor.
They want it on that floor other than a second floor, right?
And it's not really, it's a 3-car garage, but I mean, when you park a garage in there in that bay, I mean, it's only taken up a little more than half the bay. You know, there's still all that, you know, as you drive the car, what's in front of that, there's a whole lot, you know, how in some you're driving up and you're maybe a foot or 2 away from the wall. I guarantee you here, there's got to be an extra 10 feet or more from the end of the car.
When your vehicles are in, there's still a lot of
There's
space.
still a
in
lot
front.
more in front of you with this type of design. I guess it's because they wanted it bigger upstairs.
Actually, the car he has, he likes to work on.
Oh,
What was that?
The car he has, he likes to work on.
so that he needs
So
space
it's a
for his
garage and a
tool.
workshop.
Well,
Okay.
like I said,
Yeah.
it's his hobby. He has an older car and he likes to.
Okay.
Well, either way, can we see the other designs that weren't approved?
I can ask him.
Any more questions before I open it up to the audience?
That's it for me.
Okay. Any comments or questions from members of the audience? No. Okay, so you will get us, so we can see what some of the other configurations that were
I'll ask him.
considered.
Or considered, yeah.
Yep, okay. And then the additional pieces of, you know, like for,
We'll get you a detail for the rain garden. And,
detail for the rain
Schedule
garden.
that. We'll work with Matt to get different tree types.
Piping around the septic tank.
And I'll get that answer for you tomorrow.
Yeah, and then, yes, but also revise the calculation that says when you're doing a septic replacement inside the riverfront area, that's not supposed to be
Yep.
counted.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yep.
thinking about that, all the things that may become findings in the order of conditions, you know, Matt needs the information to be able to draft those.
Yes, also a construction detail for the infiltration system.
Yep.
I'm sure you have something pre-stock, but if we can just have it on the plan. Yeah, so if the commission is amenable, I can certainly draft special conditions to be considered at the commission's July 8th meeting if.
Okay. Can I have a motion to continue the public hearing to July 8th?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Moving on to our 7:40 PM agenda item, it's an enforcement order update for 400 Littleton Road.
Good evening. For the record, Brian Goodrow with Dancock Associates. I am here this evening for the required meeting for the enforcement order. Matt joined us on site Monday for a sidewalk to see the update and the progress that we have made, working towards our August deadline to file COCs. I don't know, Matt, do you want to summarize?
Sure, yeah.
Summarize?
And so one of the area by the goat pen that was supposed to be where the gravel access drive was to be removed was planted with a seed mix. I call it David Cowell's special combination between the quick seeding erosion control mix with I think a upland wildflower mix, and it had already started to germinate and started to cover, which was and it was blocked off presently with caution tape, so patrons aren't trampling it. Additionally, kind of along the back access drive, the tree box filter infiltration, I forget what the technical term is.
Cowtail filter.
Cowtail filter, whatever it
Oh,
is. The area had been cleared of an invasive species. They were attempting to establish, again, a similar seed mix of the restoration erosion control mix and wildflowers to get established on them so that can be maintained easier and complies with the order of conditions. There was one also additional replication area that David brought us to, which had been established or had been constructed with plantings installed. Presently, a Phragmites infestation has migrated over from the abutting wetland areas and has kind of intermixed itself amongst this 400 square foot kind of triangular wetland replication. I agreed with David's assessment that managing the Phragmites would likely cause greater damage to the established wetland vegetation and plantings, especially as there's very established Phragmites stands in the wetland area. You know, it's not a pioneer infestation. It's a pioneer infestation at that location, but it's not. There's other.
So it's a migration.
Yeah, and to be honest, actually, if I could go back up to the pedestrian plan, I think they had a picture of it. Ended up some of the Phragmites stands. So I was certainly pleased with the progress. Again, they're watering, getting the areas that were to be renaturalized established, and good progress has been made.
So what are next steps?
Next steps is there's an August deadline for kind of the engineering certifications that stormwater systems were installed per the plan and functioning. Again, this is also, then I think it may just be double checking that things that were recorded were
Recorded,
Yeah,
correct. So we're going through all of the orders that were identified within the enforcement to check off all the boxes, and there were a number. There were plantings, which we just spoke about. There's the certifications that we're currently evaluating, and we'll draft that concurrent with the COC request. There was some documentation that had to be recorded. Sherry Gould is our attorney on this. She is chasing either the actual recording, proof of recording, or getting those documents recorded. So we are making progress and moving in the right direction.
And we'll have this on whichever August meeting we said we were going to put it on.
Do we want to have it? So, do we want another, with some of the stuff that you still got in process, does it make sense to have an update in July or just leave it till the
I
August?
can reach out to you, Matt, if you want to do
I
something.
mean, it very well may just, if I could certainly put it in my calendar to just stop out and Again, the staff at Kimball's were certainly kind enough to meet and also kind of tour around some of the active, the golf net project, the golf driving range net project, and kind of, was able to see some of the progress on that. So it's certainly easy enough to just kind of arrange it and, get out sometime late July in advance of the.
I was thinking more about the certifications, that stuff is the stuff, you had mentioned certifications where you're basically going back and certifying that things are installed and working correctly is.
If they're going to be filing for certificates of compliance as part of the certificate of compliance process, a site inspection is required. So, with them filing COCs.
Well, I was just more in terms of if something unexpected came up in that, we don't want to wait till August before we start talking about it.
Understood. So I would say give us a few more weeks, and then, we can update Matt again. I don't necessarily
Okay,
know
yeah,
if I need
how
to
the
be in front of the
certifications
commission,
are
but
coming.
happy to.
Yeah, if that is still proceeding the way you anticipated to, just an update to Matt that says, yes, this is what's done, this is what's still left to be certified.
I would say end of July. That's the midway point between now and our August deadline.
Okay. Any comments from members of the commission? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. So we'll continue on to our 7:45 PM agenda item, which is a certificate of compliance request for 6 and 8 Callista Terrace.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yep, so here tonight, I think just to get the sign off on this multi-year project we've been under, and happy to see this come to this point. I think submitted to the commission all of the paperwork in terms of the as-built. I think everything largely since the last time we were here has gone to plan. We have been able to establish all the conservation mix that was recommended by the commission in all of the appropriate areas, all the native plantings, et cetera. So we've really stuck to everything we said we're going to do since the last time we were here. So hopefully this meets the commission positively, and we're looking good to close this up.
So included in the submittal was both if some may recall, this is the very large retaining wall that's visible from Stony Brook Road. If you look up, I forget what your neighbor's address is. But from one of the first houses on, if you look to the east, you can see the great retaining wall of Callista Terrace. And we have a structural engineer stamp saying that that was sufficient for the building commissioner. Additionally provided was a letter by the engineer that has since left.
That's what I was looking for.
Yep.
Thank you.
Again, noting some deviations, but or noting the deviations with which I concur with his assessment are not, or the layout is in substantial compliance with the approved plans. And one of the other last, as some may recall, a small portion of work did occur on the abutting property, and so kind of in advance of the filing the certificate of compliance request, I thought it would be good to get documentation from the abutting homeowner that that the work performed on their property was satisfactory. And yeah, they modified the plantings, and Ryan confirmed that what was submitted to the commission was planted as such.
So we're all, and you've done a site inspection, it looks.
Yes, I did today, and between the seed mix, which established very well, and the plantings, again, shown in the original kind of planting plan, All the plantings within the 100-foot buffer I observed as being alive and with with leaves, if not blueberries, in the event of blueberries, maybe green berries. But everything was established very well, especially given the, say, last 12 months of drought conditions. I was very pleased to see that. So I would recommend the commission, if there are no further questions, recommend the commission issue a certificate of compliance for this order of conditions.
Any questions? Can I have a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for DEP file number 334-1827? Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Thank you so much. Just want to express my gratitude to the commission. This has been a long project, and really appreciate the guidance and the support, especially Matt. Thank you for all your help along the way. It's been a long road, but we have created something really nice for our kids and family, and helped also kind of think for some of the invasive species that were back there. I know it's a lot more easier to maintain for me, for sure. So thank you all. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
All right, take care. Enjoy it.
So, moving on to our 7:50 PM agenda item, it's a request for minor modification at 60 Pleasant Street.
We received this email from the.
Actually, before we get
sorry.
doing that, so
You're gonna recuse yourself.
I've got to recuse myself because my husband has done work for the owner of this property, though not on this property, so I'm gonna step away. And Eric, you're gonna take
I
over?
am indeed.
Okay.
So this request has come from the property owner's engineer. Included in the commission's meeting packet were some revised, some proposed plans in terms of where they want to install pavers, primarily up by the driveway, or up by the building and garage. They also additionally requested to install a larger parking area, or install a parking area in the location of the former driveway, kind of directly adjacent to the lower wetland resource area along the driveway. So just shown on the screen, they did provide calculations. Originally, there was to be a decrease of impervious area of, approximate 1,750 square feet. The proposed changes decrease the decrease to approximately 980 square feet. Again, as the areas, and then included was the approved construction plans showing, if I can scroll through it. So again, originally there was the driveway was supposed to be a larger triangular area. They're kind of looking to create more of a Y up at the top, but also install a additional parking area down lower. And if there are any questions from members of the commission, be more than happy to. I had this as a minor modification again, and included in the approved plan set was proposed planting areas or proposed plantings as they were removing, I think it was approximately 28 trees from kind of the kind of northerly top of the plan, with primarily to install the septic system. Those have been installed, more so along kind of this kind of northwesterly property line, so they're not all kind of just clumped. And I think that was a plan modification that was discussed with me that certainly will ensure better survivability. So they're not removing the proposed trees in that location have been planted elsewhere, both within the buffer to the water body and within the bordering land subject to flooding.
So you're saying those ones up top there that are shown aren't planted?
They're not planted. This was the original
Right.
approved plans.
Right.
They're
They're not
planted.
planted. They're planted in other
They're
locations?
planted elsewhere, and I
Right.
think it's actually shown on. Sorry.
I was just gonna ask you, is it shown on any other plan where they actually are?
No, those are just trees that were picked
Okay.
up. I've seen an as-built plan that had them. Again, the post and rail fence was proposed to demarcate the 30-foot buffer from the edge of the wetland area.
So in the driveway that comes down, and then we have some work on the lower one, where you
Yes.
have that lower driveway and we're adding a new piece to it?
Mhm.
Try the upper one. There you go.
Yeah.
Isn't that, looks like that's right adjacent pretty much to some of those wetland flags up on the opposite side there?
Yep.
So we're adding that additional, and that's like pervious, just gravel?
It's presently gravel. I don't, did they specify what, I don't recall what they, sorry. Yeah, turn around with crushed stone. If the,
So it's not paved, it's just crushed stone, and what it is there, I'm assuming, is already altered?
yeah, that was the area, the location of the original
Right.
driveway, so it's, I think, probably exposed
And
soils.
pretty much with the same one that's below, in both instances.
Yes.
Commission have any comments or questions in regards to these proposed minor changes? Questions from the audience in regards to their proposed minor changes? Seeing none, can I have a motion to approve the request for the minor modification for 60 Pleasant Street LLC, the EP file number 334-1847?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our next agenda item, it's a discussion on allowing cremated remains to be spread at properties under the care and custody of the commission.
I received an inquiry from somebody requesting to spread remains of a loved one at a property under the commission's care and custody. That was certainly something I did not have on my bingo card. And so I started the process by asking the health department director and Public Works Cemetery Services administrative assistant their thoughts, both from a public health perspective, but also, again, the cemetery perspective, the cemetery services perspective of it. Those emails were included in the commission's packet, and in doing a couple quick Google searches, it seems to be on public property. It needs to be or to spread remains on property that is not yours. You need approval from the property owner. So here's where we're at, and I wanted to bring this, again, talking with Margaret, I thought it'd be best to kind of have the full commission discuss this and kind of get their thoughts.
Tim?
I think our rules also cover this already. I know it doesn't talk about how much, but it says fill is, adding fill to the property is not allowed. So I'm not in support of this. If they want to put ashes someplace, they can do it on their own property, wherever they want. But I don't want to do it on town property or lands that we have custody of.
Any other?
It's a hard one. I don't have an answer right away.
Well, and, you know, and one of the things that I think about with this request is somebody actually came up and asked us about it. And so one of the things that comes up is because spreading ashes is something you can do, just kind of walking in and doing it. So it's, you know, that's the other thing as well, is somebody's asking, what about people who don't ask?
It's probably somebody who enjoyed the property hiking there or
Could be,
something
yeah.
in the past, which is why they, I'm guessing.
Yes, yeah, there was a connection to the property that they, again, the specific property, but I wanted to just writ large, kind of, let's start at all the commission's properties and then, you know, if, you know, kind of.
I can certainly understand the desire.
Likewise, yeah.
So I think we all probably can.
There were a lot of information that you collected, I guess, from various sources and put into our electronic meeting packet. And most of them had either significant restrictions or specific guidance to follow. And we don't have any specific conditions or guidance either. We have just a general sense that it says not to allow fill on the properties. All those different options.
But we have property that's not in, you know, we don't allow fill basically in
Right.
resource areas.
Yeah, that's why I said.
And, yeah,
And
but we
it's
have
not-
areas that, you know, under our jurisdiction that are uplands, which don't meet that, you know, so it's hard to know. I mean, numbers,
But, you know,
it's like if
there are
somebody
general-
wanted to
there are general
go,
rules which apply to
if
conservation
somebody
lands.
wanted to go and go deer hunting, we'd want to know where they're going to put their blind or whatever. I mean, I hate to think that we would have to not know where, you know, you'd almost want to know where somebody was putting somebody. You know, I wouldn't want to desecrate somebody in any way. You know, their ashes, or, you know,
Just like doing on federal lands, I would
Right.
want to keep it away from everybody. It's way, which then you're.
but
allowing
it
them
says
to
that,
do
but
things.
you don't know if that's going to actually occur.
Yeah, but just like they
It's
don't
just a
have to ask us,
recommendation.
they could just put it wherever they want, so they're asking. So if we tell them, well, we prefer it not to be where people are gonna walk, not to dump it straight in a waterway. If we
Yeah.
give them guidelines,
And that's where formulating a policy would come in terms of the policy. That yes, if we went down the path of saying there were places where it would be allowed, then yes, the policy would provide those,
You know, given a guidelines or something like that, that we,
Yeah.
you know, would want folks to follow.
I'm
There probably
for
couldn't be any
creating
more than
guidelines.
guidelines.
Yeah, and I don't think it'll be like a lot of people doing this.
No.
Like, and
I
I
don't-
think in ashes are like,
And
This much, right?
again, I'm alarmed by how many Google searches are now tracked to my computer about how to dispose of human remains. But I had to put it in the public sector. It has to be public somewhere. But in terms of some of this research, the Bridge of Flowers out in Sherburne, out that way.
Sherburne Falls.
Yes, yeah. They've specifically prohibit the scattering of ashes and human remains, as that the amounts were impacting the flowers. You know, additionally, the more I learned, typically it's between 4 and 6 pounds of. You know, this isn't a little bit of pixie dust. It's
There's
certainly
also
Blocks like
pieces.
this.
Yes, they're pieces of bone.
Yeah.
And so that's one of those things where there's an actual volume of it that the gardeners at the Bridge of Flowers had, the volunteers who were, replanting or something, have come across, and it's not, it has a it's kind of a more sandy,
Granular
green,
texture.
yeah,
So
then,
it affects-
then,
it, over time and with volume, it affects the soil composition.
it's enough that the volunteers were noticing it and were being, so if the commission is amenable to kind of aware and, how it's to be done, that's, first got, I was looking for kind of thoughts and to whether or not, if the commission was amenable and interested in developing a policy and guidelines or a process for kind of approving these types of, such a request.
Do towns around us do this, allow it?
I don't know. I can ask. I didn't find, again, in Google searches, which I'm very alarmed by, it seems to be silent. Same thing with the, the email from the,
Was the conservation?
Well, I had checked with it, I had reached out to the Conservation Trust, and they said they have not yet received any such requests.
Okay.
But yes, it just, this is.
right, the cemetery services don't have a policy yet
Anything
because they're not,
prohibited by the, Westford Land Preservation Society or the,
Land-
I mean, that's,
They would prohibit it through the CR.
is there anything like that, any language there?
I didn't look at that granular level
Okay.
yet.
Okay.
If that's,
So that's part of the research if we decide to pursue a policy.
right, if we're doing a policy, is that, again.
Checking with the
first-
conservation restriction.
Yeah, CR holder, CR holders, things like that. But just wanted to get, if the commission wants to develop a policy, have a policy developed or kind of explore that further, or kind of to Jim's point of no. Which I'm kind of Jim's, my kind of first reaction was no. But again, I defer to the commission's kind of role.
How about we think about it and just revisit this?
See if anyone has.
Well,
comments.
yes, I was gonna say, any more comments from members of the commission before I open up to the audience? So are there any comments, questions, thoughts that members of the audience might have on this topic?
Yes.
Okay,
All right.
Again, my name is Eric Lachine. I live on Orion Way. I agree, not something I expect to be talking about. I both would love to have that done for myself, but I wouldn't want anybody else to do it. So it's kind of like if it's the people's land, I think the people should decide, not this body. And if we're gonna err on the side of caution, I would say no fill.
thank you.
To Jim's point, no fill.
Yeah, but thinking about no fill, if somebody said they wanted to plant a tree, would you say no?
Probably not, I'd probably say yes.
It's different.
Yeah, but it's still fill. Well, it's still added.
It's not bones and teeth.
True,
Bones and teeth are natural and
True.
okay.
fertilizers.
So, do we,
But I don't necessarily want to be like
No, I don't
hanging
necessarily
out
want to
and looking
find
at them
it
when I'm
I'm
having my picnic.
walking, but
yeah,
it's
so
off the path.
you had said, I think it was, you had said that, take this away, let people think on it and come back and decide whether we want to have a more detailed discussion or whether we want to,
Do other, like, what, does a selectman have had a request?
I asked the town manager's office, again, the town manager had valuable insight when there was the resident who wanted to metal detect on
Yeah.
the commission's property.
Very simple.
They don't have any experience with this. So, I don't think they've received any
We
requests.
said no to that right away. That was an easy one, so.
No one's digging now.
Yeah, no, and so if, again, we can add this to the subsequent agenda, to kind of let it.
Does the cemetery commission have any thing? Because this is dealing with deceased people, right?
No, and so again, in terms of, from the cemetery services administrative assistant, they, where is it? It's not, they're, at cemeteries, they're not allowed to just show up and scatter the ashes on their own, but they don't have a rule for it. There's no policy, there's no,
They kind of count it as littering.
No, I'm not talking about it as disposing of the ashes of the cemetery. Like, for example, you cannot bury someone in your backyard. That's a rule.
Yeah, it's,
Probably spread their ashes.
You spread the ashes.
But you can't-
So that's why,
In your own yard.
in your own yard, you
Yeah.
can't bury, it's
You
illegal. to
you can't bury somebody in your
Without
backyard,
permission.
but you can scatter their ashes in
Right.
your
Okay,
backyard.
Right. So is there like a legal thing at all on,
I don't, again, just.
just what they was there?
The available guidance that I was able to find said it's, up to the individual property owners.
I see, okay.
And so that's where things kind of, again, if the commission is interested in pursuing something, there are, what is it, established scattering gardens, there are, I think,
You mean, if we wanted to, we could choose places?
yes, there could be, and again, I don't know how.
Designated places under our care and custody that when we would,
With which it may,
Yep,
so
consider-
it's in a specific area, it's something,
And especially not certain places.
right, I mean.
Not near water. or
Right,
not-
and then it's a little bit less where you feel, where you would like to. It's here, this is the area of, if you want to, this is the designated area. And again, whether or not there's a process for that, but is that,
So if we decided to pursue drafting this policy, that would be something, there would obviously be background research, but that would also be something we would do through a public hearing process so that
yes, as it would be, as it would.
residents and others would have the ability to
Right,
provide their input.
Same with, the rule, amending the rules for the, for the conservation, rules for conservation lands. Go through a similar public
Okay.
hearing process for that, but,
Our circuit rider, do we have one? Do they?
well, it's private, it's
Yeah,
property,
I know.
it's not,
Well, and it's not wetlands.
Yeah, I know. It's an
Our
oddball.
rules cover all of our lands, not just wetlands.
Right.
And the rules do all cover no fill.
no alteration, there's also, with a no alteration, again, you can't just go and kind of,
Without
Create your own.
approval of a commission.
What
See, somebody can always come and seek our
about
approval.
Sudbury Valley trustees? Is,
actually, I can I'll reach out to the Sudbury Valley trustees and see if
as,
they may have a.
as a larger area organization that may have heard of similar requests elsewhere, or have other towns had this come up and made decisions going one way or the other in terms of
Yeah, I'd like to know.
whether anybody, yes, if anybody else has encountered this, what were their thoughts, what was the outcome of
If you're gonna ask, you might wanna ask about felines and canines as well as people.
Well, again, that's why this is, we can start to
I'm sure
specify.
those get buried and spread all over.
All over the
That's,
place.
yeah, I'm thinking that might be slightly different.
That may be what people are asking too. I don't know. I think it's just. we're
We'll
better
start
off-
with people
we're
and
better off
work our way
saying-
down to pets, is that it?
Well, yeah, okay, so we'll bring this back on the subsequent agenda.
Yes,
They
likely.
generally prohibit, by the way, I looked it up.
Huh?
The Sudbury Valley trustees generally prohibit the disposal of or scattering of cremated remains on the conservation lands because of ecological
You
purposes.
say generally.
Yeah, generally.
Right, yes.
So what's their exception?
Matt can
There's
get
certain local-
clarification.
I'll talk with
And
their.
and it may just be that,
There are
yes.
state laws, and the state laws generally consider harmless.
But yeah, and, and it just, yeah. So we'll see what's
Oh,
conversation.
one sec, there's conservation land. And DCR actively prohibits the scattering of remains in all state
Yeah.
parks and DCR managed forests.
Oh, okay.
So,
Not sounding good.
Okay.
We'll see.
Yes, there's, a lot of others have given this careful thought,
Yeah.
and their deliberations.
Well, let's revisit this.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So moving on to our next agenda item, it's a continuation of a public hearing for Friends of Forge Pond, Beaver Brook, water chestnut removal. The applicant has requested a continuance without discussion until July 8th. Can I have a motion? Nick?
So move.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And,
Go
over
back,
to you, Matt.
back to the agenda, wherever that is. And so with respect to, with the commission's permission, I'd like to remove the CSX Railways right-of-way. They have complied this year. And if amenable by the commission.
I'll make a motion to that effect.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
And those opposed?
120 Main Street, 43 Cold Spring Road, I do not have an update. 120 Main Street, I anticipate a plan from the property owner's engineer in the upcoming weeks. They have complied with the ordered actions. 123 Oak Hill Road was having the wetlands delineated and plan prepared. Can check in with them. 27 Tenney Road, planting plan was prepared. I need to follow back with them if it's acceptable, if it's consistent with the ordered actions. 400 Littleton Road was discussed previously. 13 Forest Road had removed the fill that was added to the wetland resource area and was in the process of stabilizing it with vegetation growth. 6 Loon Way, the erosion controls were installed and site work outside of the 100-foot buffer was commencing a couple weeks ago. I have not revisited it. 12 Patton Road, the property owner has reached out with respect to seed mixes to apply in the area between the conservation posts and the wetland resource area, provided some direction to them. And 7 Applewood Drive, I need to actually get out an issue. But the property owner has spoken with the property owner. So things are progressing for most of them. With respect to discussion and action items, both 20 Keys Road and 35 Keys Road, I have not had the opportunity to reach out to them. For the request for proposals, Unfortunately, as was raised during open forum, the both RFPs have not been released. I need to finish them up and send them to provide them to the town manager's office to release as part of the public procurement process.
Yeah.
On the Hill Orchard one, is it written in such a way that encourages people to charge the town to manage the orchard? Or is it left neutral that either they can pay us or we could pay them? Because I'm really not in line with paying somebody to compete against other orchards in town.
I don't.
That's picking
I'd
up-
have to revisit. I'd have to look at it and see how it was written.
I feel like the government's stepping in and trying to pick favorites about who should be successful as an orchard runner. and who
Understood.
shouldn't be.
So
It kind of bothers me that we're doing, I hope it's not written in such a way that we're telling people we want to pay somebody to do this.
I think
And we want them to pay us if we could.
I think under procurement practices, state procurement practices, we have to. It has to be put down what the expected value or expected cost is, So for,
Using the date farm, could you base it?
No, the Day Farm's different, because there's, the Day Farm, they pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Which is
it's,
fine, they're paying to use the land.
but
I'm okay with that.
is the RFP written that basically,
I could take the language from the Dayfield. I know what you're talking
Well, I
about.
think the day is set up in such a way that we immediately say that you're.
Right, there's a
Pay us to use the
rent
land.
fee, yeah, or a
Yeah.
license fee, whatever it is.
Whereas this one,
this one you're saying,
I wouldn't
because
mind,
it's a different,
I wouldn't mind if it's that way, but I think, I feel it's
okay,
the
but
opposite.
you don't want it to be hard-coded to the other way,
True.
as opposed to false?
Pay.
Okay.
There may be,
Because we do have orchards in town, and they run an orchard without government payments. We do reduce the property taxes on it, but of course, on the Hill Orchard, there's no property taxes for the farmer to pay. It's town property.
So it's certainly,
There's super strong benefit when you pay somebody to compete against his competitor.
But that might not necessarily be the case, because it might actually cost him more to run hill orchards than it's worth.
So that's why if we leave it neutral, we may see.
You might have to pay people to take care of it.
Well,
right, well, I mean, and that's, I think that's upon releasing the RFPs and getting the proposals back, again, the request for proposals process differs from, say, an invitation for bids or something like that, because it allows discretion by the issuing authority at the end of it.
We may not want to award it.
Right, it may not be advantageous to the town. An invitation for bids, typically it ends up being, lowest responsible bidder. Request for proposals, there's, again, kind of, it's certainly there's a little bit of a scoring matrix associated with it, but that difference gives more discretion. And, to Jim's point, with that also being said, both instances do afford the town the ability to not move forward if it's not advantageous to the town. Instances with, the footbridge project out at the O'Brien Farm where, the project cost was 1.5, what was appropriated. All right, well, we can't engage with a contract if we don't have the money. So that's something to, I can certainly make sure that language is more neutral for Jim.
Appreciate that.
And they're going out this week, right?
Yep, and that's the goal. And then I know Jim and Eric had already volunteered to be reviewers at a previous meeting of the responses, so they can review and kind of report back to the commission upon. And then again, I think it goes through the select board because we're leasing real property, or where real property is involved, and is my understanding. So, yeah.
I had a great interest in that topic.
You want to come on?
Come on up.
Again, my name is Eric Lachine. The Hill Orchard has been there for many, many years. It's obviously not being maintained now. Be interesting to know why. That may be a speed bump for whoever is looking to take care of it now. I think basically from what I understood, because I was one of the individuals that offered to maintain the property 10 or more years ago when you put it up for a request for proposal. At that point, it seemed to me that the town was paying the liability insurance on the property to the caretaker of the property. My proposal at that time was more based on a percentage of the crop that would go back to the town. So I was just very interested to know what the town's interest is in the property and what they want to utilize it for. Is it just as scenic vista?
What? So we had the contract with Farmer Dave to manage it. And at the end of, that contract expired at the end of last year, and he had basically let us know that he was not going to look to, could he have extended the contract, or would we?
I think he could have extended it for 1 year.
Okay, but, and at that point, he expressed a lack, he said he was not interested in doing that, and that gets us back to the starting point of needing to do a request for proposals to look for, to look at, was there somebody else out there to manage the orchard? What would their proposal for managing it be? So yeah, that's kind of where we are getting off to a slow start.
Okay.
Okay. So yes.
In conversations with Farmer Dave, when he advised that the orchard could go unmanaged 1 year. He didn't recommend that it go unmanaged multiple years. And so that's,
So
again,
wasn't there also money that you guys infused into that property?
Oh, yeah. For
Besides,
wells.
you improved the septic,
Refrigeration, wells.
refrigeration, a well,
Yep,
you paid for trees to be planted?
yes, when they were taken
So
down that storm,
that's-
yes.
I
That's
mean,
a
the goal of
lot.
the property
But we
is
don't
always to maintain it as
But the
a
problem I have is
working
that we don't
orchard.
do that, we don't do any of those payments for the other orchards in town. Why would we wanna do it for one farmer, but not another? Why do we pay and support fiscally, in many ways? Wells, refrigeration, painting, all this, and give cash on top.
Like I said, if the town wants to maintain a
Right.
vista or a scenic view,
Yeah, how much are they willing to
versus-
pay? Right, that's what we're doing.
But we've done that with other things. I don't see why this one you
Right.
find unique.
What do you mean, like what?
In one way or another, we subsidize, and,
We-
in this particular instance,
So-
it's maintaining the Hill Orchard.
Or the day-
But you gotta maintain it,
I would-
we own the building.
I myself would encourage the town to facilitate a young farmer or even an old farmer to, like, I assume that you're trying to do that in the day property. You're trying to make a property available for an entrepreneur to come in and utilize the resource of the town to make it an asset.
Continue some of our agricultural history.
Yes, so you want to maintain it as an asset for the town.
Yep.
not necessarily to subsidize it.
If the town wants to do that, I guess,
Okay.
as long as it's done above board and understands
So
that
I-
they're paying somebody to.
I
do
have
it.
great interest in understanding what the town wants, and I wish you guys would make it more clear. And-
So I think that's where the request for proposal.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah,
and-
so that's, like the one you heard, with the woman speaking at open forum, the one for Hill Orchard is supposed to get out the gate in the coming week as well.
okay.
Okay.
And if you email me, I'll make sure that when it is released, you're sent it. If you're interested.
Okay.
Any other members of the audience?
Any other comments or questions from members of the audience on the request for proposals? You've been sitting here very patiently. Is there something specific you're here for?
That was what I was here for. I was
Okay.
here to learn and.
Okay.
I'm all about.
If you're gonna speak, just for a minute,
We're
statement.
here to hear what you have to say.
Sandra Hobby, Good Pick and Farm. Been with the town long time. So I am very interested in what's gonna happen with the Hill Orchard. One of the things about the farm that we have now, Good Pick and Farm, and we're leasing that, is that history for the town. I think it's really important for our children, important for all of us. So with Hill Orchard, having been such an important part of the history of the town, I see a kind of synergy. And also with Good Pick and Farm, having the original, apple press and the whole deal where all the farmers brought their apples, and I just see that coming together. I'm interested, curious, want to pursue it, very interested in the RFP. And I actually had the same question, what does the town want? And guess I'm going to get clarification through the RFP, and I think that's a really important thing. And then from there, I will look at it, and we'll look at it as an organization and see if there really is something there and what we might do. But it would be with the intention of taking care of that orchard, however it be used. I hear your questions.
msalem@westfordma.gov.
Thanks.
Excellent.
It's on
Thank
the
you.
website.
Yeah, but yes, and, and sometimes it takes a nudge. There's so much going on that, it's kind of like a nudge to help us say, yes, there's people interested in this. This is not just another thing on the list. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I
Woodside Meadows.
do not have an update on that, nor with respect to the Emmett and Showbrook conservation areas with the use, with the MOU. I do not have any update on the CPS funded projects presently. With respects to the Stony Brook Conservation Area, in reverse order, the bench graffiti, we have a contractor coming out, I think this Monday, to try to remove the remnants at the bench that was previously identified. We received, our office received a proposal today from the town's tree service contractor to do pruning of above and around the camp buildings. We're letting the CR grantee know, but that should be occurring in the upcoming weeks. And I don't have an update on the EBC chimney. With Edwards Woods, neither of those two items I have an update on presently. The Summer Village CR, also no update. and I was unable to review the set of minutes that I was hoping to include in the meeting packet.
Anything else to discuss before we adjourn? Any more comments or questions from members of the audience?
I'm here to ambush Matt when he-
Oh, I 100% it. I'm like, Dave, your item was continued. We talked about this.
So you're ambushing him after the meeting?
After the meeting, yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right.
One other thing, just so people know, somebody from Westford Cat reached out to Lauren, Eric, and myself because we have town email addresses with a questionnaire looking for some information for the commission. I kind of took a stab at drafting responses to those questions, forwarded to Matt and Sierra. If others would like to see the question, it's about when were we formed and why? What's our mission statement? How can residents participate in our meetings? Stuff like that. If other people are interested in providing that feedback, I think they're trying to get a better understanding of the commission's role in the town, that we may end up appearing in the Westford Villager down the road. If people are interested in being, part of that engagement, let us know.
I would think a lot of that's in our local wetlands bylaw. I mean, a lot of the summation.
It's more about us as a
Charge, our
town.
purpose,
But it's more about the projects we do, any latest and greatest things we want to tell the public about. It's more public communication about us as a board than our mission. But what I was going to do is just give her our mission statement off of our webpage. But anyway, if people want to have a say in it, let Matt and I know. Okay.
And Mike.
What?
And Mike.
Well, log into your town email. Okay. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.